Welcome back to our Percepta Pro Series, Employee Experiences Drive Customer Experiences. In our series introduction video, we talked about one of my favorite Percepta values and differentiators, culture of service. To dive into what culture of service means to Percepta, I've invited Katherine Kress, an expert in customer experiences and Percepta's Vice President of Strategy, as well as Tammy Godby, our Percepta culture expert and manager of our global organizational development team. Today, we're going to talk about what culture of service means, how that value is measured and lived, and where we go from here. Welcome, Tammy. Welcome,
Great.
Katherine.
Thanks, Johnny.
Happy to be here.
I really appreciate you both agreeing to join me today and talk about this. You know, as I was thinking about where we're going to go with this conversation, I think that it's really important that we start off with a foundation of what does culture of service mean? And Tammy, as our Percepta culture expert, I want to ask you, what does culture of service mean to you?
It is how I can make things easier for other people. Treating everyone within Percepta as if they're my customer. Looking for or helping provide solutions that just make things easier for clients and employees. You know, it's just trying to do above and beyond. That's culture of service.
You're so right. It really is about that ease, that effortlessness behind an experience. So is there an example that you can think of, one or two examples of either where you have provided an experience that has been effortless, or maybe where you experienced another colleague of yours having an effortless experience?
Absolutely. Actually, there are a couple, because I don't believe that culture of service begins after we hire you. I think culture of service should begin at the very first touch point, and then it should continue through your entire career. So the first example would be, there's an individual who goes above and beyond to make sure that the interview experience is a very enriching one, going as far as making sure that they know the area, the bus routes, the extra ways to get to the office, or anything that helps with that experience. Another individual recently that was hired went the extra mile and did one-on-one interviews or one-on-one kind of meetings with people that she knew was going to be her stakeholders. She tried to identify those pain points and how she could fill some gaps so that she could deliver better customer service to her teammates. That, to me, is that culture of service, that going above and beyond.
You touched on something that I think is so important, and it is that the culture of service is extended to individuals long before they're actual employees of Percepta. And I think that there is this shift that's required, this paradigm shift, where 10 to 15 years ago, it was perfectly acceptable in an interview to say to someone, to a candidate, what is it that you're going to bring to our organization? What is your value to my company? But what we're seeing so much of happening today is this shift where, as the employer, we're telling the candidate, here's how we're going to add value to you and to your life, which I think is so interesting and so important, in especially looking at the workforce of today. Another thing that you touched on that I really love is how that culture of service extends to not only new or potential employees, but to our colleagues as well. So thank you for that great answer. I really appreciate it. And Katherine, I'm curious, as we're focusing as Percepta on how that shift needs to happen for our employees, are you seeing that same shift happening in the industry in the way that businesses are interacting with their customers as well?
Absolutely. Businesses recognize that providing an effortless experience is a key driver of overall customer satisfaction and loyalty. You all may remember 15 years ago, not dating myself too much, Staples came out with the easy button, and everybody wanted to have one. So your CX-oriented companies are definitely focused on how can they make it easier for their customers to do business with them? How can they identify friction points and remove those in order to drive loyalty?
It's so important to be able to identify what those friction points are. So how are companies measuring that? How are they measuring that frictionless experience?
Yes, well, much like NPS or CSAT, very common measures, a customer effort score or frictionless score is becoming more and more common. So companies are actually asking their customers, how easy is it for you to do business with us? Many industries are finding that it's actually more predictive of loyalty than your traditional CSAT and NPS. So those CX leaders are taking it a step further, and they're measuring that across their touch points. So they can really understand where are those core pieces of friction, and then what do they need to do to eliminate those.
That's really awesome. So they've identified where those friction points are, but what are some of the ways that they're solving them?
Yep. So one of the key points of friction is moving from one channel to another. Today, about 70% roughly of all customers will actually try to solve a problem on their own before calling a contact center. So making that self-help intuitive, right? Letting them do that. But when it comes to the point where they do need to engage with the company or with us at Percepta, making sure that they can get to the right agent easily. Are we open at the time that they need us to respond to them? Are we available in the channels that they want to interact, whether it's chat, phone, social, text? And when they get to us, do we have an agent that can answer their question quickly, that they don't have to repeat themselves, that the information is the same? So companies are really looking at omni-channel solutions that allow those transitions, where your information moves from channel to channel, so you're not repeating yourself. And then really focusing in on, once I get to the agent, do they have the right tools to be successful? Are there knowledge bases that let them intuitively search, right? How do we look at the training to make sure that agents know what to do, that they're empowered to make those moves? Right? So looking at all of the processes and the policies to say, how can I make it easier for my customers so they don't jump through hoops? How can I make sure I'm rewarding my most valuable customers? And how can I empower my agents so that they can answer that customer's question without transferring them 100 different times, or without having to, put them on hold while they look for that information?
You're absolutely right. It's one of the most frustrating things is you finally get to someone and you're talking with someone and they don't have the ability to answer the question that you have. So I think it's really great that we are focusing and as an industry focusing on how are we empowering the agent to deliver the best customer service. And Tammy, thinking about how an agent may experience a phone call as well, I think is pretty important for us. We want to make sure that they're feeling confident and comfortable in the information that they're providing the customers. Are we measuring that in any way, that culture of service and the way that our employees experience it as well?
Absolutely. We do it through asking for feedback and providing opportunities for autonomy and growth, but we use quite a few tools as well to help us with that. We have a quarterly survey that helps us understand, engage employee engagement, and we hold focus groups after the results to better understand how we can do more or better or different. And then from those groups, we put an action plan behind those ideas and we begin implementing. An example is there was a major theme through one of our focus groups, and it was across the board, that they wanted more communication and it needed to be, or they wanted it to be more standardized and globally. So we implemented a manager of communication that now runs all of our communication globally. So we now have a brand and a standard, and it's a communication method that everybody had been wanting. On top of that, we encourage our employees to seek self-development, and we have hundreds of self-paced classes that we can offer through Percepta College online, like business skills, increased knowledge in software, project management, a lot of topics. And we globally launched Percy Perks this year. It's a global rewards and recognition program, and it focuses on recognizing our employees for demonstrating Percepta's values, not metrics only. We also offer leadership training, and that also we began globally this year. It's a 2-week training, and it begins with foundational elements like emotional intelligence, coaching, communication, and conflict, but it rounds out their experience with technical training that supports what they need to do on the job. And there's on-the-job training and peer partner mentoring that helps support that as well. We also have a global onboarding system. We welcome new employees beginning a week before they join, and we check in with them throughout their first 90 days. So this helps us identify pain points and gaps and allows us to address these things right away. But along with that, we've implemented a checklist for hiring managers, so it ensures that these new employees, they receive the best training and consistent onboarding experiences. Their very first day, they get new employee orientation, and this is also a global effort, and it helps these new employees better understand and identify with Percepta as a company, as well as our values and our leadership. We've increased communications greatly. So we developed this Pro Series that we have initiated through LinkedIn and through Facebook. And we share all of these things on social media. We increased our videos, our newsletters, all of our content. And we implemented voice of the employee forums. We want to know what our employees have to say. Those are a lot of the tools that we use to help us gauge all of this culture of service in our values.
I want to focus on a piece that you talked about, which was leadership training, because I think this leads into my next question really well. There are a lot of statistics out there around why employees may leave a job. And one of the largest ones out there is due to having a manager that doesn't, match up with their values. So I love hearing about what Percepta is doing from a leadership standpoint and in that training. And I think that dives into my next question really well, which is, we're measuring out all of these great, culture of service experiences from a customer standpoint, from an employee standpoint, but how do we live these values? What is the day-to-day in living that look like for you, Tammy?
That's a great question. We have to practice them. You're absolutely right. People don't leave companies. They leave managers. We work with our current, our up-and-coming, and our new leadership to develop, and we strengthen the skills that help us be the best leader and managers that we can be. But it's all accomplished through continued practice. Within leadership training, that is what we really, really try and do.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. And so, Katherine, the same question goes for you. How are we living these values out as Percepta, as an organization, and how do we bring that value to our partners and our clients?
Yep, well, absolutely. I mean, if we do not have agents that are equipped to do their jobs and aren't embracing their jobs and excited about them, they're not going to deliver a great experience. And so we really work with our clients to make sure that not only are they identifying ways to make it easier and more frictionless for their customers, but they're partnering with us to make sure that we're making it easy on our agents to provide that great experience. And that all goes with making sure that our agents have the right tools and the right processes to deliver. I talked a little bit about knowledge bases, right? When an agent gets a call or gets a chat in, do they have a system where they can quickly type something in and get the right answer? Are the systems that they need to use to process a customer request intuitive? Do they respond very quickly? And as companies are adapting their policies and their processes to make it easier for the customers, how are we continually training our agents to be up to speed on that so that they can deliver in on that promise? At Percepta, we also embrace that spirit, and we try to make it easy for our customers from a B2B perspective, work with us. So we'll identify primary points of contact at every level within our customer's organization so that when they have a question, they're not wondering, who do I call? They call their primary point of contact and we get it done for them. We've also been streamlining our bureaucracy so that it's much easier for us to be nimble, and that as our clients are pivoting and changing with the market, that we can respond in turn and act quickly to deliver on effortless experiences.
We're doing so much of this today, it sounds, right? So from a client, a customer, an employee standpoint, we have all of these processes and these actions that are in place. But what's next? How do we continue to move the bar? We've set the bar really high for ourselves as it is. So how do we continue to strive for excellence?
Sure. What's next is ever changing, right? I think, here we are sitting in our homes chatting about this topic. And if 2020 has taught us anything, it's that you can't predict the future, right? Certainly. So we absolutely want to make sure we build a roadmap so we know where we're going. But key is to really be nimble and flexible and able to adapt to what is thrown at us, quite frankly. So, we do that. We work with our clients to benchmark CX leaders, companies that are providing really great experiences. We don't just sit in our little box and figure out how we make our box better. We see if there's something we can learn from elsewhere. We also keep abreast of technology. Technology is a key enabler of customer experience. It is a key enabler of making things easier, right? You think about AI and bots and automation, and these things even 3 years ago were pie in the sky, right? Today they're real. They definitely are entering the marketplace, and how you implement those and use those is really the difference between, is it going to be easier or is it going to be more frustrating, right? So we really look at what's out there and what we can practically implement to make a difference and to stay ahead. But ultimately, it is about the people for us, right? So ideally, from a contact center perspective, nobody calls us, right? I mean, if I'm a customer, the only reason customers are calling us is they have a problem, right? Service isn't great, product's not working, they couldn't find an answer on their own, so they're calling us. And our job is to make sure that when they reach a person at the other end, whether that is in chat, whether it is on the phone, in social, through text, that agent is there when they need them, able to answer their question quickly, resolve their problem, and get them on about their day. It is, at the end of the day, all about the people, and that is where we excel. Who we hire, who we work for, it's in our DNA.
You're absolutely right. That is the lifeblood of who Percepta is the people, right? Yeah. And so, Tammy, you have your work cut out for you. What's the bar? How do you continue to set that higher for yourself? What's next for organizational development?
The easy answer is we just keep moving forward. The longer answer is we continue to move that needle. We make a difference in small ways as well as big ones. We enjoy the journey of both. First, though, we remember to listen. We work a lot in leadership training to listen, to understand, and not to respond. So it's really imperative that we listen to our employees and our customers. But beyond that, we need to think innovatively about how we can continuously improve. We work creatively to remain open to ideas and strategies, some that might not work right now, but they will at some point. So we still need to have those conversations. We continue to be entrepreneurs in this field, and we're always looking for our blue ocean, working to be at the forefront of this culture of service. The key, Johnny, though, is that we do it together. Together, we have to collaborate and use our collective intelligence to make a difference. But we always have to keep our goal the same, which is employee experience drives our customer experience.
Well, thank you both so much for being here with me today. I appreciate all of your insight and your fantastic knowledge. I want to thank everyone else who listened to us. Thank you for joining the Percepta Pro Series, where employee experiences drive customer experiences. Take care.